think the need for digital education has never been greater, but actually is very urgent now, because the implications of not enabling people to have a place in this transforming society, to have a job, to be able to keep that job, the implications of that are actually quite frightening. My name's Simon Nelson. I'm Chief Executive of FutureLearn, a company I founded 7 years ago using investment from the British Open University. FutureLearn started as the UK's entry into the world of MOOCs, massive open online courses. And over the years, we have evolved, as other players in the market have, to deliver a wider range of online learning, short courses, but also increasingly full online degrees, and now emerging a new strand of micro-credentials. And we're increasingly focused on trying to bridge the huge gaps in the supply of and demand for high-quality education all over the world, particularly now being exacerbated by the arrival of artificial intelligence, the acceleration of the digitization and automation of industries that's making lifelong learning an absolutely essential requirement for society to really grapple with. It really feels that we have made significant progress, particularly in the last few years. Even a few years ago, I think people might have looked at FutureLearn and many companies like us and wondered if we would still be existing today. But suddenly, education technology companies like ourselves, like Open Classrooms, like Busuu, like Babbel, in European EdTech companies are really starting to rise above the scene around the world and start to get international recognition, start to take on much more significant funding, and start to really, I think, deliver on some of those early promises of being able to open up access in different ways to different audiences. In Europe, people were still monitoring and watching and wondering whether to move. But over the next year, you had a whole spate of new entrants. FutureLearn, Myriada X from Spain, iVersity, Open Classrooms, the France Université Numérique. So just in our sector, 2013 suddenly was an explosion of innovation and creativity into this space. And over the years since, you've seen inevitable ups and downs for those organizations. Not all of them are still here today, but actually I think it's been an incredibly exciting journey over the last 6-7 years for the European EdTech scene. But we're just getting started, I would say. The new challenges of education in the digital era are about really trying to confront, finally, the huge disparity between the supply of and demand for high-quality education. If you look at developing societies, the rising middle class leading to rising expectations of education in those societies simply cannot be met by traditional educational approaches. We have estimated one would have to build 14 new universities every week until 2030 to cater for the growth in demand for tertiary education that is coming. That cannot happen. So the answer has to be new digital approaches to try and get anywhere near meeting that demand. And then when you look at the scale of the skills gaps that have always existed around teaching, healthcare, engineering, but now are being exacerbated by the digitization of industries, by artificial intelligence, automation, you have a vast requirement to reskill and upskill people who traditionally universities had stopped thinking about. People beyond the age of 25 in work who now are desperate for high quality, flexible education to enable them to keep jobs, get jobs, or progress in jobs. So I think the need for digital education has never been greater, but actually is very urgent now, because the implications of not enabling people to have a place in this transforming society, to have a job, to be able to keep that job, the implications of that are actually quite frightening. So for the future of education, FutureLearn sees itself as trying to work with and enable the university sector and increasingly employers as well to bridge this gap between supply and demand. And we're doing that by creating high quality platforms, things that are mobile first. Our own approach is to try to make online learning a social experience, a collaborative experience, something that feels like you are in a community learning together. And our belief is that learning also needs to be enjoyable. Often doing online learning, digital education has felt as much fun as doing your tax return. And actually we want to bring the kind of innovation that's gone into doing your banking, your shopping, consuming your media into education. And it is happening, but it's not really happening at scale yet. But if you think about what's coming, I really would assure anyone watching this that we believe we are just scratching the very surface of what is possible when you bring powerful digital techniques to education in a scalable way. When thinking about EdTech and developing these new ideas, one of the things we think is an absolutely core essential requirement for FutureLearn is being able to partner well. Because we don't believe that any one organization has any chance of really making a significant dent, a significant impact on the scale of the educational deficit. So we've always seen ourselves not as a disruptor, but as an enabler of universities and increasingly employers to be a catalyst for their own digital transformation, so that together we can be greater than the sum of our individual parts in trying to address these societal challenges. So I believe organizations like the new EETN are essential in fostering greater collaboration between the major players in education. And we're trying to be, again, a catalyst to get different organizations in different countries working together in consistent ways on the same platform with similar approaches, so that actually we can all try to break the back of some of the scalability challenges, some of the cost challenges, some of the quality challenges of delivering high quality education to those people who most need it.